In the last video, I talked about dev containers in VS Code, and I showed you how you can get up and running with a development environment in about 2 minutes. Today I want to address a common question that I hear, which is about the shell environment and your own configuration files that we typically call dot files, right? Whether you're using any kind of a dot files manager or if you're maintaining it yourself, it doesn't really matter. As long as you have your own dot files, it is absolutely trivial to use your own dot files inside a Docker container when you use VS Code because it has support for dot files out of the box as a first-class feature. And I'm going to show it today so that you can see how easy it is to get it installed. So here I have a dot files example repository. It's a repository with dot files. And I'm going to open it inside a Docker container. And the dot files that I have here will be loaded into the Docker container automatically by VS Code. The only thing that I need to do is to configure the repository with my dot files in the settings. So I go to settings, I type dot files, and here I have the location of my dot files on GitHub. So now if we reopen this directory inside a Docker container, what's going to happen is that VS Code will clone your dot files into the home directory. I've got a new keyboard, so I really don't know how to type. So if you go to your home directory, you're going to see the dot files are there. So VS Code cloned it, and also it automatically ran the installation script, which is very, very convenient. You have to call it install.sh. There are some other conventional names that you can use. I use this. So we essentially have our own shell configured automatically by VS Code. So I use ZSH. So I have all my ZSH installed here. This is the latest version. I don't use any dot files manager. My installation script is very, very simple. This is not exactly what I use, but like the essence is here. So I use a git module for all my ZSH just so that I can get the latest version every time I run the script. And then I simply copy dot files from the local home directory to the actual home directory of the currently logged in user. And that is it. I don't need anything else. It works well for me. I've been using this approach for years now, and I'm pretty happy with it. Another thing that is quite useful is setting up your own shell. I mean, the type of shell that you want to use inside the Docker container. In order to do this, you have to use a special shell profile and configure it in the settings. So you simply look for shell profile, and then you have to edit your settings JSON. So, whoops, it created default setting. I have a profile for Linux that is called ZSH, and then I simply configure this profile as the default profile for Linux. So every time I go into a Docker container that uses Linux, it's gonna use ZSH profile. So that is all you have to do to configure specific shell that you want to use inside a container. And that is it. If you want to get started with dot files and you've never actually share your dot files in a Git repository, you can just use what I have here. I'm going to publish this repository on my GitHub, so you can just clone it and get started there. Alternatively, you can look into dot file managers. I'm going to leave some links in the description of this video. There are plenty of options out there. I typically recommend a dot file manager only if you have more than one machine that you're working on, especially if you're working on machines with different operating systems, and there are many differences in your configuration of files. Then a dot file manager is a good idea. Otherwise, what I have here is good enough.